Welcome along, everybody. We are back ready to go then for the 100% League here in Japan. And we are here for round 2 because we're a step ahead of everybody else. We're a step ahead of the other divisions, I should say. And we are ready to get going then for qualifying. Hang on. What is going on here? Right. Well, that's it. Better stuff. Good stuff indeed. Right then, we are ready to get going properly now because I've got my audio sorted. We have got Sick as Muck then and the McLaren of Ginger Rage out on circuit then. We will ride on board with the Ginger then as we go through. Oh no, we won't, as he's gone off into the gravel then, has Ginger Rage. Not part of the circuit that he's meant to be on then, but he has figured it out now and got himself back on the grey stuff, which is good stuff indeed. Let me get the stream up as well then and get the comment section going as well. And we will see what everyone is up to then in the comments as well, and good stuff indeed. Welcome along then to the stream, of course. So we will get ourselves underway and rolling around Suzuka then in the in this next iteration and of the 100% League, of course, round 2 of season 3. Hopefully the comments work this time because they were not working on Monday night then for Silver, but fingers crossed then they'll be okay then for tonight then. Good stuff indeed. We're ready to get going here in Suzuka now, and like I said, a short qualifying format then and a 100% Grand Prix to come up after this. 15 minutes left of the qualifying here as well then. So far so good then. Out on track we've got Ginger Rage then getting a nice little tow then from Sick as Muck, but unfortunately they are both on their out laps, so it doesn't mean anything now. So there we are, but we are ready to get ourselves started for the first qualifying laps here in Suzuka then, as we go through the Casio Triangle then for Sick as Muck then to start us off on a lap now down the main straight then with DRS and ERS activated then towards turn 1 and 2, which of course is most of a flowing one corner really, rather than two corners, but there is two apexes technically. So there we go then, through there for Sick as Muck then, negotiating that very nicely in the Ferrari, and now into the S's section, which of course is a bit more treacherous these days now with the patch then, with going over the curbs and whatnot. But so far so good then for Sick as Muck then, negotiating that very nicely indeed, of course, on the first run, the first time run that is, of the qualifying session here tonight. Going through the first and second degners then under the bridge then and towards the hairpin now for Sick as Muck. Let's see how it's going to unfold then. Of course, in the first round of the season we had a Haas on the top spot then at the end of the Australian Grand Prix, which opened up the silver season, the 100% season 3 last week then, and that was Speed Kai then who took the crown in the first race of the season for Haas then. Great stuff indeed then, looking forward to seeing if he can repeat the feat here in Suzuka. Of course, a bit of a difficult, well, not difficult circuit, but a different circuit compared to Australia, but of course a very historic circuit as well, so both of them are matched in that sense then. But here comes Sick as Muck then into 130R then, purple of course in sector 1 and sector 2, that is, through the Casio Triangle then to set ourselves our first time on the board then for the Ferrari. Let's see what it's going to be then from Sick as Muck then up to the line then. It's a 29.5 to get ourselves underway then. Where is Ginger Rage? Ginger Rage has unfortunately invalidated his time. He's going back around again though. He's saved up a lot of VRS and to go for a second run here as he comes trundling down the main straight. Then there is a Red Bull just getting out of the way, and that is that then. Kiki is not next across the line. We've got Young Light. No, it's not Young Lights either. It's somebody else then. Who's going to cross the line here? It is Legend, I think. Then Legend just sets a no. He just starts his lap. And then no, he's gone to the top of the time boards for Kamara Racer, I should say. Then there he is. 29.3 then for Kamara, then 2 tenths of a second or so ahead of Sick as Muck for the time being, as Kiki up into pole position, then displaces his teammate down to second on the front row, that is, and he is of course on to pole position with a 29.1 then from Kiki, then his first time on the board here tonight as well. Then good stuff indeed. The time's starting to tumble in here in qualifying. Speed Car is a bit too far further back then. Legend is further through as well. Then here comes Vessia. Then Vessia is on intermediate compound tyres, so we can ignore him because he's not going to be competitive at this stage of the race, stage of the qualifying I should say. The Young Lights then in the other Haas is reserving in place of Gamer tonight, then coming down through the Casio Triangle then up to the line. What's it going to be from Young Lights then? It's a 29.9, puts himself P4 for the time being as well. Then Ginger Rage is flying up towards 130R, but we've got some more drivers coming through. Intermediates for Speed Guys, so we can ignore that one as well then. Vessia hasn't done a time. Then here comes Legend then into the spoon curve. I think we're going to go back with Ginger Rage. Then let's see what the McLaren driver is up to. He's not used any ERS then on this lap either then for Ginger Rage, so I think he's forgotten to turn that on. But nonetheless, across the line, he's going to set a time of a 32.9 then. Fantastic stuff indeed. So there we go then. Good stuff from Ginger Rage. Then got himself a time on the board then in P5 for the time being as well then. So far, so good then. We've just had Legend jump up the order then. Legend with the 31-2 then in the kick Sauber, I should say. I'm trying to remember the green machine's name. That was Vintage then. Oh dear, Vintage having a spin then through the S's section. Then I think caught on the curbs there, and the Red Bull then going around. Then he's kept it under control, thankfully, just about in time then to get himself back on track and getting out of the way now of Moomin, who is flying through. He's invalidated his time, unfortunately. Here comes Percy then in the kick Sauber as well. Of course, had a bit of a fight then with Farf, I think it was, in the Australian Grand Prix then for the points positions. Vintage needs to get himself onto the track rather than off the on the gravel, and back underway then. Yes, he has done, I think. Good stuff indeed through the first and second segments. Purple in sector 1 then for Lucas Percy then in the slowest car on the grid. Then he's doing a good job then in the kick green machine. And Vessia then is still on intermediate compound tyre, so we'll come back to Lucas Percy then coming through the hairpin now and heading on towards the spoon curve then into sector 2. Good stuff. Ginger Age says Styles then in the comment section. Yes, he's done a great job there. Has Ginger Age then? I don't think he remembered to turn his ears on then. As my goodness me, there is a Williams there of somebody in the way. And that is bad news indeed then with whoever that was in front of Lucas Percy. Then they did not get out of the way at all then for the kick Sauber car, even though it was bright green. You would have thought that they would have seen that in their wing mirrors quite comfortably then, but unfortunately not. And unfortunately, I think it was Coop then who is, because Equaz is a bit further back on the lap than Coop then, maybe getting a bit unsighted by the kick Sauber in front of him as well. Then too many green cars on the track then, and that has unsighted Coop as well. Then unfortunately for Lucas Percy, then he's had to abandon the time then and come back round. He's going back again, I think, then is Lucas Percy. He's got enough fuel and ARS on board then. But unfortunately, that was very costly indeed then for Lucas Percy's first flying lap here in Suzuka. Around the spoon curve for Moomin. Now let's see what the Ferrari driver, the other Ferrari driver can do, because Sickers Muck is currently in P2 with the 29.3. Let's see what Moomin can do then in towards 130R. He's gone purple in sector 2, which is promising. And now we'll see what he can do then into sector 3, then into the Casio Triangle, then deep on the brakes, then into the first part of the chicane, then and now down the hill towards the checkered flag. Let's see where it's going to put him. It's a 29.5, puts himself P4 for the time being as well then. So both the Racing Bulls, sorry I was going to say Red Bull there, both the Racing Bulls and the Ferraris looking pretty good here as well at this stage of the qualifying, that is as well. Then Vintage is back on a lap now. I think Percy is back on a lap as well, then potentially, then hopefully trying to avoid any Williams cars that are getting his way this time. Through into sector 1 goes Equaz, then where's Coop? Coop is coming over the crest of the hill, then down towards 130R here in the Williams car. Let's see what he can do then. 12.9 I think it was in sector 2. Not quite sure where that's going to put him in relation to the rest of the field then, but through the Casio Triangle now then for Coop. Then he's gone wide, then losing the back end a bit through the first part of the corner, then down the hill towards the checkered flag once again then, and it's a 29.9, puts himself P5 just ahead of Young Lights for the time being. Good stuff indeed. Then here comes Legend then to start off another lap. Back underway then. Vintage has done a 31.0, sorry, to put himself P7 then into the top 7 now for Vintage after getting his lap together as well then. Good stuff indeed. And Equaz then is coming over the crest of the hill as well then. Gordo has said, bonjour. Lost about 8 minutes if quali trying to remember the name of a sport with my mate. Okay, good stuff indeed. So there we are. Here comes Coop then Equaz, down towards the start-finish line, and it's P7 for Equaz, displacing Vintage down to P8 then in the 30.0s then is Equaz then. Good stuff indeed. There's a I think that's a Kiki then just starting off another lap then in the Racing Bulls and charging through turns 1 and 2. Coop coming back to pit lane, he's P5, then Equaz in P7, then only a few thousandths of a second behind his teammate as it stands. Where is Gordo? Then Gordo is coming under the bridge, then in towards the hairpin, then Gordo in the Aston Martin. Unfortunately, R2 beat is the other Aston Martin driver then, who did very well then. He got a podium, of course, in the first race of the season last week, but he's still, unfortunately, too ill then to be able to race there. which is a shame. Evening says, Serious Mushroom, then yes, I'm feeling alright. That ginger test in the gravel trap, says Serious Mushroom as well. Then yes, I think that's probably what he was out there for. Spoon curve then for Gordo, then coming down towards the back straight and then over the crest of the hill, then down to up towards 130R. There's a Haas then in the foreground. I think they're going to be out of the way before Gordo reaches there, but purple in sector 2. That's promising stuff indeed then for Gordo. Of course, the champion then from last season as well. Then can he carry on that feat? Then can he keep the consistency that he had so brilliantly last season as well? Then down the hill and into the final part of the lap, then across the line. What's it going to be? Then it's a 29.0, puts himself P2 because Kamara Racer, I completely missed it. Kamara Racer, I was trying to read out the comments, that's why. 28.6 then for the Racing Bull team. Goodness me, I'm going to get that confused so many times then. Racing Bulls then on pole position then for Kamara Racer. Kiki then displaces his teammate at the 28.6 as well then, so both the Racing Bulls then in the 28.6s, which is fantastic stuff to see. Gordo then in the 29.0, then P3 has been displaced then by the two charging bulls, that is, as we go through into the rest of the qualifying. Then 6 minutes left of the session here. Lucas Percy up into P6, then Young Lights back on another lap as well though. Vintage then down to P10. Legend then is cruising around, then he's not used much ERS on this lap. Then Ginger Age is back on a lap now. He has used some ERS on this lap, has Ginger Age, as he goes through the spoon curve now in the McLaren, looking to get his more competitive time on the board then, as we go through the spoon curve then and up towards 130R. Here comes Ginger Age. He is flying in the McLaren. Let's see what he can do then on his first proper outing here in qualifying. Through the 130R, 2.2 seconds up then on his previous time. That's very good stuff indeed then for Ginger Age. And let's see if we can keep it together through the Casio triangle, and so far so good. Then down towards the checkered flag, or the finish line I should say, then for this lap. He's still got 5 minutes to go then across the line, and it's P10, a 30.3 then for Ginger Rage, right behind Equaz, and looking good then into the top 10 then for Ginger Rage. Fantastic stuff indeed, very terrifying stuff indeed as well then for the drivers around him, but so far so good then for Ginger Rage then in the McLaren. Then his first timed run, or his first competitive time run on the session. Then Speed Car is done a 33.2. I don't think that's competitive for Speed Car. Of course, he won the last race, the first race of the season in Australia last week. Then trying to get himself through Degner 1 and 2. Then twitching around. Then is the Haas car, but unfortunately, I think that might have been costly indeed because he seemed to have backed out a little bit there. We'll come back to him. Young Lights has got himself up into P5 with the 29.3 then in the Haas, splitting the two Ferraris for the time being as well. Then Sick as Muck is back out on a lap, then going through Sector 1. Let's see if he can improve. He's on intermediate compound tyres, never mind, so we can forget about that then. Speed Car, we'll go back to Speed Car then. Let's see if he can get himself a improvement then through Sector 2 then. Can he gain that time back that he was lost when he went through the first and second Degners, then twitching around in the Haas. He has got himself 3 seconds gained then in Sector 2, then that will put him in the range then of the top 10 just about, I would imagine, as we go through the Casio triangle then to finish off the lap then for the other Haas car, then coming down the hill now, sponsored by Chipotle, if you didn't notice. That's fantastic stuff indeed. Across the line then for Speed Car, right behind his teammate then with the 29.4, and that's not too bad then. Even if he had those little dodgy moments then into Sector 2, he managed to get himself back and composed then to get himself into P6 then for the time being then. Good stuff indeed. Then Young Light's coming back down the hill then. I think he's coming back to the pit then. Young Light, yes he is. So he has finished then on this run. There's still 3.5 minutes left of quality. Then there's still time for drivers to get themselves back out on track. Then Equaz then is on the out lap then. And Styles has said do quali. Mushroom has said no. Styles has said yes. Mushroom has said scared. Do you? And then Goku has said, or Styles has said, why do you want to win the race? Serious Mushroom said, no, I don't care. Styles has said just practice lap then. And I suck in Japan. And Evening Alex from Kiki, and then Styles has said no pace at all. So that is that then for the summary of the comment section as it stands then. But I think both, unfortunately at the moment, both Styles and Mushroom, there's quite a lot of drivers that have forgotten their car keys in the qualifying so far. 13 drivers have set a time on the board. Then Equaz is on an outlap then to set another time on the board then very soon, as he comes trundling down the hill then to start off a final lap, I would imagine, here for the Williams driver then, heading through towards turn 1 and 2. I told Ginge to use ERS, said Serious Mushroom. Then that is very helpful indeed, then I think, for the McLaren driver. Of course, Mushroom and Ginger Age then a very good pairing in McLaren. Then he's coaching his teammate then to improve his lap times as well then, which is fantastic stuff indeed. Then here comes Equaz then through the S's section up the hill then towards Dunlop then and into the first and second deck. Let's see what he's doing in sector 1 then. Is he improving on his time? 3.5 tenths up on his time. That's fantastic stuff indeed. That would put him in the range then of Lucas Percy, potentially, if he can hold it together then, even in the range of the Ferraris and the Hasses as well then, if he can hold it together through the rest of the lap as well then. Here he comes then through the hairpin now. Let's see what Equaz can do then in the Williams then, heading towards the spoon curve. And so far so good out there as well then. It has been like I said, it's been a pretty good start to qualifying in this event so far. Then through the spoon curve then for Equaz, then lots of ERS still to play with then as he goes over the crest of the hill then to head towards 130R. Then this is the maximum pace, the fastest pace then the drivers are going to be in this stage of the qualifying then, as we've got almost 4.5 tenths up on his time. That's going to be putting him in the range then of Movement Ninja's time, Speed Kai's time as well, potentially as well. Then through the Casio triangle we fly through then for the Williams, down the hill then towards the start finish line. What's it going to be then for Equaz? It is a 29.4, puts himself P7 in the Williams car then. Fantastic improvement, almost over half a second then from Equaz in that final lap as well then. Great stuff indeed. Then he's run out of ERS then to play with then as Ginger Age starts off another lap. Then here he goes then, powering down towards turn 1 then. Legend is on track going through the spoon curve as well then. He's going to have a nice little tow, I think, from his teammate here as we go as we go up the hill then towards 130R. Then Legend then getting a very nice tow indeed then from Lucas Percy then into 130R now. And late on the brakes indeed, there's a Visa Cash App Racing Balls which is going to get in the way. And goodness me, I don't think many people are very aware of what's going on track around here, are they? So here comes Legend then up to P4, 29.2, then puts himself on the second row of the grid. Then great stuff indeed. And potentially Lucas Percy might see the favour return then at the next part of the circuit, that is. Equaz then cruising back to the pit lane. Farf has retired in the pits as well. There's no time for Farf then, unfortunately. 6 people have forgotten to get themselves out of the on the track then for qualifying. But that is that then. Coming through the S's section for Lucas Percy then. Can he hold on? Can he catch up to his teammate then to get himself a nice little tow then in return then down the back straight then after this on his final run here qualifying? He's done and dusted then. That is Styles, Mushroom, Reflection, Farf, Speed Kai, and I think Sick as Muck done and dusted in qualifying here, and they are all finished and complete. Then we've got one driver who's not complete just yet. Then it's Ginger. Oh yeah, unfortunately he's invalidated his time. Then never mind. So there we are. Then into the box then for Ginger Race. Not starting any higher than P12, but actually only one driver can knock him down his perch, I think. Then is Vintage, as we've got all sorts of action coming through here. And my goodness me, what is going on there? There's an Alpine, there's a Ferrari, and there's a goodness me, what is going on here at all? Who knows? And now onto the back straight. Here we go then. We've got a return of favour then for Lucas Percy then and Legend as we go through 130R. Then Legend goes off the circuit then just get out of the way of his teammate. But he has given Lucas Percy a nice little tow then down towards the Casio triangle now into the final couple of corners. And here comes Lucas Percy up to the line. What can he do here? And it is a 28.4, puts himself pole position then by 4 thousandths of a second then to Gordo, who's done 28.409. And what a lap time indeed then. Lucas Percy then will be thanking Legend then for that tow, I'd imagine, because that was absolutely incredible, and got himself onto pole position here in Japan. Fantastic stuff indeed. Qualifying done and dusted here as well. That tow really helped Lucas Percy then to get hold of that pole position then by 4 thousandths of a second. That's the closest qualifying I think you've seen in a long time then. Not last, says Ginger Rage then. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then he is, where is he? He's P15 now for Ginger Rage then. Good stuff indeed. Percy then thought he had his first pole then, said says Gordo. A fantastic lap time indeed then from Gordo as well. Then he was 4 thousandths away then from getting pole position, but this man here stole it away then in the final members of qualifying. Then a 28.405 then for Lucas Percy, taking the first pole position then of his season as well. Of course, we're only 2 rounds in, but Gordo then P2 on the front row then for Gordo. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then Kiki P3, Visa Cash App, so I should say, locking out row 2 then for Kiki P3 and Kamara Racer P4. Then Moomin Ninja P5. P5, Vessia P6, then Coupe P7, Legend P8, then Young Light, sorry, P9, Sick as Muck rounds off the top 10, then Speed Kai, last week's winner, down in P11, then Equaz P12, Don the Dons P13, Vintage P14, Ginger Rage P15, and unfortunately the rest of the field didn't get a lap time on the board then, so they are going to be starting further back. Brilliant stuff in qualifying, then we'll be back after a race. Right, then we are ready to get started for 100% of the Japanese Grand Prix, and we are loaded in then, ready to get cracking here for Suzuka. Then here is the grid, then we'll take you through it in just a jiffy. We will get the data and everything all sorted, and we'll get the tyre compounds all sorted as well then, and now we can have a look and see what is going on then with the rest of the grid then. From P19 is Reflection on the hard compound tyres in the Mercedes' first appearance this season, of course, after he missed last week because he was going to Silverstone for the Grand Prix, so a fair enough excuse, I would say. Serious Mushroom, then P18 on the medium compound tyres, then for the McLaren, then Hungry Styles also on the hards in P17, as is Bath in the Alpine P16. Doesn't want to go away. Ginger Rage then P15, the slowest of the time runners, but at least he got a time on the board then, which is good stuff indeed. Then in the on the medium compound tyres in the McLaren, Vintage just ahead in P14, mediums for him as well. Then Don of the Dons P13, medium compound tyres, as is Equaz in P12 up in the Williams, and Speed Kai in P11 on the mediums in the house as well. Inside the top 10, we've got Sick as Muck then in the Ferrari, medium compound tyres for him. We've got two ahead of him though. Young Lights in P9 on the hards, as is Legend in P8. So both of them looking for a longer first stint then. Coupe then on the medium compound tyres, P7, then same for Vessia in P8, then P6 in the Alpine, I should say. Then Moomin then dropped in for the hard compound tyres in the Ferrari in P5. Both the Alphas, AlphaTauri, no, definitely not. The Racing Bulls then have split the strategy then in P4 and P3, locking out the second row of the grid then, but Kamara Racer opting for the medium compound tyres in P4, then Kiki opting for the hards in P3. We've got Gordo then on the front row of the grid then, medium compound tyres for P2, and our pole sitter then, Lucas Percy, is on the medium compound tyres as well in the Kick Sauber then. Oh dear, as Gordo's decided to go for a spin then. Not quite sure you want to do that then, so. The Ginger Age is upset. We used lots of tyres just for 15th thing in the comment section, so unfortunately Ginger Age then he's not got so many soft compound tyres to use then, as Legend has had a problem then trying to get himself into a pit box. Or into a grid box, I should say then, which is even more of a bit of a struggle, it seems. So there we go then, as we have got a nice angle then, hopefully for the start of the race. We will get ourselves ready then for the Japanese Grand Prix. Oh, that's loud. 5 red lights are on here in Suzuka then, and the 5 red lights are off in Suzuka, and away we go then for the Japanese Grand Prix of the 100% League. Then Lucas Percy coming across to cover off Gordo then in towards turn 1. He holds on to the race lead then into turns 1 and 2 then into, oh my goodness, Kamara Race has got a great start then. Oh there, Kiki's gone off the circuit on those hard compound tyres as well then. Unfortunately the Kiki then having a difficult start, and there's somebody having a problem there as well then in the background there. All sorts of action then. Ferraris then battling away with each other as well. Sick as Muck's got himself through then. We'll have a look and see what's going on there, because that was a bit of chaos. Then it looked like then Legends lost a place on those hard compound tyres as well. Then now he's lost one to Young Lights as well, who started on the same place of the grid. Then Farf up 6 places, and Legends been swamped now as there's another Alpine trying to go for the move, then round the outside into the first and second Degners. And so far it has been absolute chaos at this race start, and I don't think anybody's realised that it's a 100% race. Same as Australia last week, we saw 5 laps of absolute chaos then, but then never mind. Then Speed Kai and Ginger Rage are having a battle then through the hairpin, and Ginger Rage holds off the Haas car, of course the champion, the winner from the first race of the season. Then Ginger Rage is having none of it. Then he's going to stick his nose in there and keep himself ahead. Then he's gone wide then as Ginger Rage, and there's a yellow flag then for Lucas Percy then at the exit of Spoon Curve, trying to get himself back on. Then I'm not quite sure why people are weaving around then trying to get themselves out of the way then, but they've got themselves through. Unfortunately for Lucas Percy, he's dropped to the back of the field then. Unfortunately for Donald Alonso as well, he's still at the back of the field as well then, but he has got himself no wing damage then as well then. I think Lucas Percy's car is intact as well, but I'm not quite sure if he was helped around there in a spin then, or if there was something else going on then, as Lucas Percy is all over the back of Kiki. Now both Kiki and Lucas Percy have had difficult starts in this race, but they've got a long race to go then to get themselves back into the fight as well then, as we go heading down towards turn 1 and 2 once again. Then through the S's section goes Gordon down, taking the race lead here on lap 2 of 53 then. So far so good then for the Aston Martin Camaro Racer, looking good as well then in P2. Vessia up into P3 with a great start, then up 3 places, and same for Coupe as well in P4. Sick as Muck has gained 5 places then with a medium on those medium compound tyres, looking great indeed then in the Ferrari. So far so good then. Oh dear, as what's happened there, Equaz and Moving Ninja are battling away then through the second Degner then, and that has cost Moving Ninja dearly as well. Then Equaz has got himself up into P6, then Young Lights has gone through into P7, and now almost diving down the inside is Legend then into the hairpin as well. Then the Ferrari driver has to back out there and down to P9. Unfortunately, Moving Ninja has cost him dearly. That attempted move then has went over the gravel into the second Degner, and that has been very detrimental to his position in this race so far, but there is still plenty of laps to go. So it's not all doom and gloom yet. Of course, he's on the hard compound tyres as well then, so he can go longer in the first stint. Then he just needs to bide his time in this race, and it will come back to him then later on in this stint as well then. Out in front, so far so good for the top 3. They've split away from the Williams of Coupe now, who's under pressure from Sick as Muck as we go into the Casio triangle here. DRS of course is activated now. There's only one DRS detection and activation for it actually. As you cross the start finish line, here is when the rear wing will open. Then for Sick as Muck, then he goes up to P4, he takes the position there. Legend has been passed then by Moomin Ninja into turn 1, and here comes an Alpine of Farf, who is dangerously sticking his nose in there. Oh my goodness me, I thought that was going to be contact there, but thankfully they escaped. And so far so good then out in front then. It is all cozy out there as well. Then the Young Lights is 2 seconds behind the top 5, then that's going to be costing the Haas driver. And now Equaz, Moomin, Farf and Legend as they all catch up to the field. Ginger Rage is up to 11th place, and he's flying out there on the medium compound tyres. He's all over Legend then into the Dunlop curve, and he has slotted in behind the kick Sauber for the time being, then through Degner 1 and 2. But so far so good then. Ginger Rage looking strong out there in the McLaren. Then Speed Car, then last week's race winner, then down in P12. Then he's lost a place then from his starting position. Then where will he get himself back in this race? Will he get himself back on the top step of this race then at the end of lap 53? We'll have to wait and see, but so far so good then. Lucas Percy then has got himself back up to 15th, then Kiki then is still down in 16th, and I'm not sure if Kiki's might be struggling with some damage there, but he seems to be okay. Then Donald the Dons has passed Hungry Styles. Hungry Styles had an issue that out of the spoon curve. He's back underway very quickly indeed though, and back in the race then, hopefully get himself back in the pack quickly enough as well. Out in front then, Camaro Racer still trying to chase down Gordo for the race lead here. He's gone deep then into the triangle, then that is going to be costly on the exit then as Vessia now closes up here into the final corner, then across the line. Then Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race, then Vessia sets the fastest lap of the race then, and now chasing down Camaro Racing then as we cross into lap 4 here. Sick as Muck then is trying to get himself into this fight as well for the top 3, then into the podium places. Then Equaz has got himself past Lights now into P6 then, and on the back now, well 1.2 seconds I should say still, but on the back of his teammate almost as we go through the S's section onto lap 4. So far so good out here as well. Moving Ninja now trying to get himself back past Young Lights then. Going through the S's section is not an overtaking place then, unless the other driver goes off the circuit to let you through. But Moomin Ninja in the Ferrari then is pushing the Haas then through the Dunlop curve up towards the first and second Degners into sector 2. Now we go flying through then for the Ferrari, then all over the back. Then Farf picks up the first penalty then of the evening, then first penalty for any driver out on track as well then in the Alpine. Of course, we might see a lot of penalties start to rack up around here then. Legend then has got the pressure then of the mighty Ginger on his back then, as we've got a problem then for Reflections off the field at the back end, the second Degner, isn't it, there for Reflection, and he's come back on now, and I think again he's got his front wing intact there. He managed to stop it going in the wall there, did Reflection, but unfortunately that has cost him quite a few positions as well. Then he's down the back of the field now. So far so good out there as well then for the top three. They've split away now from Sicker's Muck. Then Sicker's Muck has done a great job then, gaining 6 places then off the start, but he's not been able to get himself into that DRS window then to get himself a nice little toe down the main straight then. Legend and Speed Kai, then Speed Kai's got himself past Ginger Rage and into P11 now as well. Speed Kai started P11 then back up into P11 as well now, in through the Casio triangle. There is Ginger Rage with his nice pink helmet then flying down the hill towards the start-finish line to start off his lap 5 now, and DRS of course available then as we go flying down the main straight. Then here comes Farf then on the attack, then trying to get himself past Young Lights, but nothing doing at this stage. Then Percy's got himself past Vintage then into turn 1 and 2, then up into 13th. Now Percy on the back of the McLaren of Ginger Rage, which is not what you want to be looking at. It's going to be very terrifying indeed then, that Ginger Rage, that rear wing I should say, flying all over the place then I imagine, as oh my goodness me, what a line then through the S's section then. That's a brilliant line actually. Well, caught the other drivers off guard I think there, and almost onto the back of the Haas of Speed Car as well. Then Farf and Young Lights then have decided to battle through the first and second Degners, which is not a good place to battle I would have to say, as Legend then is now caught up to the back then of the pack. Then Speed Kai, Lucas Percy and Ginger Rage will switch places. Then Lucas Percy now up into P12 then, trying to get himself back in this race. Then Ginger Rage I think has let the Kick Sauber go through because he's not in the fight then for with the Lucas Percy. Then he was in the fight but he's now not then, as side by side goes Legend and Speed Kai then up towards the spoon curve. It's tight indeed then between the two of them, then side by side through the spoon curve. Then Speed Kai, I can't remember, sorry I got it wrong. Speed Kai then has gone over the curves then, that was what I meant to say. Then he's in a bit of a Kick Sauber sandwich then, but here comes Lucas Percy and he's gone for the move. Then he's got himself past both Speed Kai and his teammate of Legend, then up into P10 now, and Speed Kai's going to go down the inside into the Casio triangle. Then here we go, then side by side action then through here, and there's a, oh my goodness me, I thought that was, is that Ginger Rage then off the circuit then, and oh my goodness me, Ginger Rage is all over the place there, but he's got himself back on the grey stuff, which is good stuff indeed as well. I think letting Serious Mushroom go through there into P14 now. He's got himself past Vintage as well, up into P13 for oh dear, we've got yellow flags for somebody. What's happened here? It's Hungry Styles then has had an issue somewhere, and Hungry Styles then needs to either get himself in the box then or onto the track. Then he's got himself onto the track then and back underway, but not quite sure what happened there to Hungry Styles then. Bit of an issue then for the Red Bull car, but back underway now. Ginger Rage then, like I said, they're letting his teammate through as well, but he's let Vintage go through as well at the same time. Then that's going to be costly indeed. Then can he get himself back underway and back in this back in the fight for the top 10? Potentially he can. He's not too far away. Then here is the top 10 battle. Then Lucas Percy and Farf then resuming their battle from Australia last week, and through the Dunlop, through the hairpin we go I should say, and now putting the pressure on then is Lucas Percy all over the back then of that Alpine. Moving Ninja is ahead of this train now because he's lost out to the DRS of Young Lights, who's in a bit of no man's land at this stage. He's 2.4 seconds back from 6th place of Equaz. There he is, Equaz flying over the top of the hill then, but he's got himself out of DRS threat then from Moving Ninja that for the time being. Then as we go over the crest of the hill then to start off, we'll go into 130 I should say then for lap 6 then of 53. So far so good out here as well. Then it's been a bit of a what has it been? Vessi has got himself past Kamara Race and then into turn 2. It's been a bit of an epic action-packed. Oh my goodness me, that is what you call too deep then from Kamara Race. And then Equaz has got himself past the teammate there up into P5, and hopefully this is where the teammates might start working together. And then there's Percy and Moomin are battling away. There's contact and Percy's lost the car then. I think he's lost out to Speed Kai and to Farf as well then as we go through the S's section here as well. And dearie me, contact then between the Ferrari and the Kick Sauber then as we go through into the S's section as well. Ginger Rage, no, that's Serious Mushroom now. Ginger Rage is still in this fight though. He's still in the pack then, still in the train then is Ginger Rage, which is great to see. But so far so good then. Kiki, unfortunately, then after that difficult start then has been backed up and he can't get himself back through the field, and unfortunately then he's been stuck at the back of his train then after that issue on lap 1. Out in front then Vessi has lost out to Gordo, then Gordo is now trying to power off in the distance, then is Gordo in the Aston Martin. 1.3 seconds the gap then to P2. Kamara Racer now as resuming the battle then with Vessi, then and Sickers Muck has joined the party here as well then in the Ferrari. So far so good then out there as well then. Hope there's no sound glitch to Serious Rushman then. Well, we know how to fix a sound glitch now as well then. And there we go then. And tyres please, says Kia Langston. Tyres please. There is the tyre please. Nobody on the soft compound tyres, everybody on the mediums or the hards. Is pretty much the round up then on lap 6 then. Nobody's made any pit stops just yet. We'll have to wait and see when the pit stops start to unfold. Here comes Kamara Racer then on the attack, then he's going to come back at Vessia, then down towards turn 1, and he's back up into P2 now as well, then into the first turn. The Racing Bulls, I'm going to keep calling them the AlphaTauris, aren't I? The Racing Bulls are back ahead then into P2 then. Here comes Speed Kai then on movement injury. He's got himself passed into P. Oh my goodness me then, as not Ginger Ray, sorry, Lucas Percy then went for the move. And he's, oh my god, there's a contact between Farf then and Lucas Percy, and I think there was a movement injury involved in that as well then. Farf somehow gets himself through both of them then. And Lucas Percy past Movement as well then into the top 10 for the time being, that is, there as Movement then is going to try and fight back then through the Dunlop curve then. But so far so good then. Like I said, there's a lot of different tyres out there as well then. Farf and Young Lights are the leading two on the hard compound tyres in the top 10. Movement Ninja is actually in a great spot then on those hard compound tyres, as well as Legend then in P12. Kiki not so much, but he has on the same life of tyre then as everybody else on the hards, that is. So potentially can get himself a nice jump when the mediums do start to fade out in this first stint then. And of course they're going to be under a lot of pressure in the first stint, those medium compound tyres, because there's a lot more fuel on board compared to later on in this race as well. Ginger Rage picks up a 3-second penalty, unfortunately, with Ginger Rage. That's the second penalty of the evening so far. Farf being the first then, but there we go. The admins picking up the penalties first then in this race, and which is very decent of them to do so. Getting the penalties sorted now out of the way then for everybody else. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then Lucas Percy now on the back of Farf once again then, as we go through the 130R then into the Casio Triangle. Young Lights picks up a penalty, and Movement Ninja has sent a move then down the inside from nowhere, and goodness me then, Percy then I think just about saw that last minute then and covered it off then, just about had the pace to cover it off as well. Then here comes Movement Ninja, here comes Lucas Percy then on the back of Farf as well, then into turn 1, and they're going to go side by side. They're going to go side by side, and Percy's gone off the circuit there. And that is costly indeed then for Percy. Then he's dropped down behind Legend and behind Mushroom as well. Then out of the top 10 then, Moomin getting his elbows out is definitely the term I would have to use for that one. But there we go then. Here we go, Vintage up the hill then. There is Lucas Percy in the foreground. Ginger Rage then, like I said, picked up a penalty. The Young Lights picked up a penalty as well for the Haas team in P7. So both two runners on the hard compound tyres got a 3-second penalty. Then those hard compound tyres will be nice and warmed up by now on to lap 9 then of 53. So far so good then. Tyres have been put up on the screen. Then here comes Ginger Rage looking for a move around the outside. Then here comes Moomin Ninja on Legend as well then. Moomin Ninja is not holding any post then so far in this race. Then he is going for it on those hard compound tyres. Legend then has the inside for the spoon curve then, and the Ferrari trying to go around the outside. There's contact between Legend and Moomin, and off the circuit well, not off the circuit, but well, spinning almost off was Legend there, and goodness me, then that was aggressive to say the least. Then here comes a McLaren of Serious Mushroom over the hill in towards the 130R I should say then, and now Legend then going to go for a move. Then is he on the outside then into the chicane? No, not quite. Then he stays behind, and down the hill we go then behind Moving Ninja once again. Then this is where it's going to get DRS-y as we get the rear wing open as well. Then here we go. Then Speed Guy's gone past his teammate of Young Lights. Then Hassan switching places. Then Moving Ninja has gone past. Sorry, not Moving Ninja. Sorry, Lucas Percy and Legend have gone past both the Kick Salvers. Serious Mushroom then trying to go through as well. Then he's got himself past the Ferrari as well. Then 3 cars going past. Then down one straight. Then oh my goodness me, and Moving Ninja is lagging all over the place now as well. So that is bad news indeed, because it was going all right then up until that lap, but then that connection issue seemed to have had some sort of problem then with him losing 3 places at the same time. So hopefully that resets itself or whatever and sorts itself out then. But so far so good. Good battling then on to lap 10 of 53. So far so good out there. Unfortunately for Vessia, then he's lost out then massively then to Gordo, who is flying in that Aston Martin. 3 seconds the gap then to the race leader for the time being though. Kamara Racer then holding station then in P3. Sick as Muck there doing a great job in the Ferrari P4 for the time being as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed then from Sick as Muck. Then Equaz and Coop then flying along very nicely indeed as well then in the Williams cars, then both on the medium compound tyres at this stage of the race, and so far looking quite comfortable then P5 and P6 for the time being as well. Then Speed Car has got himself up into P7 now after a difficult start or difficult first few laps. Then oh my goodness me, then that was going to get difficult indeed as Sick as Muck and Kamara Racer have switched places then. Down the straight, then we go. Sick as Muck up into the podium places now in the Ferrari. Then great stuff indeed. Then from the Ferrari up into turn 1 and 2. Then great stuff indeed. Then Speed Car, I was just about to say, he's done a great job then recovering then into P7 so far in this race and locking up then into the Casio Triangle. Nearly cost him his place there as well. Then Lucas Percy's got himself past his teammate of Legend then into P10, into the top 10, back up into the points now for Lucas Percy, trying to chase down Farf. Then Legends dropped down to P11 on the hard compound tyres. Then Serious Mushroom in the fight as well. Then Movement Ninja is coming with them as well. Then Ginger Rage is following close behind as well, as is Vintage and Kiki now as well. Good stuff indeed. Reflection and Hungry Stars are trying to catch up here as well. And same for Donald the Dons, then, who's had a bit of an issue I think on the first lap there, and he's not been able to get himself back in the train, has he, unfortunately. Vessia then, Gordas must have had an issue somewhere, because Vessia now has gained 6/10 then on this lap. It was over 3 seconds the gap at this point in the last lap then, but so far it's now down to 2.4 then 2.5 as Vessia then goes a bit wide then into the spoon curve. Then Sick as Muck now trying to challenge for P2 as well here in the Ferrari. Then Kamara Racer cresting the hill in P4, but so far so good then for the top 4. Then here comes the Williams pair. Then Speed Car's now got himself in DRS range then of the Williams as well. Then this could be treacherous times then for P5 and P6 then for the Williams team, as Speed Car is on a mission. Then he is speeding towards that position as well. Then good stuff indeed. What a pun indeed as well then. Fantastic stuff indeed. There we go then. Speed Car then has got himself past his teammate now and on the charge. Then here comes Sick as Muck. Then he's on the attack. He's got himself up into P2 now. Can he close the gap down to Gordo then in the Ferrari? Then is looking good indeed for Sick as Muck so far in this stint. Then 12 laps have been developing, or have developed I should say, and so far so good then for the Ferrari then out in front. What's going on with the rest of the field then? Lucas Percy and Legend then holding station. Then Reflection picks up a penalty unfortunately for Reflection. Serious Mushroom then holding on to the 2 kick salvers then for the time being. Movement Ninja as well, P13 holding on there. Ginger Rage just about within DRS range of the Ferrari ahead of him as well, trying to get himself through the S's section then, but under pressure now from Vintage and from Kiki as we go through onto lap 12. Then Hungry Styles then just starting off his lap 12 as well then, but still on the lead lap then for the time being as well. Lap 12 of 53 then. We're going to have 40 laps remaining at the end of this one. But so far so good out here in Suzuka, especially for the Aston Martin of Gordo then, who is flying around spoon curve now. 2.7 seconds the gap to his closest rival, then 2.8 seconds as we go around the spoon curve then and on to the back straight, then up the hill then towards 130R then, and there is the Aston Martin leading the way, flying through. Then in the background we can see the Ferrari of Sick as Muck then and Vessia in P3, followed by Kamara Racer as they fly through, trying to keep up the pace then with the race leader then flying into the Casio Triangle now as well. Then both of them, all 3 of them I should say, then doing a good job then. 6.5 seconds the gap back to Equaz then, but now there is a Haas then who is challenging both the Williams pair then into the Casio Triangle. Then let's see when or if Speed Guy can get a move then past the Williams pair as well, down onto the main straight. Then DRS and ERS available then for Speed Kai. Here he comes on the back of Coop then down towards turn 1. Then can he make the move? Then he's too far back then, and the DRS then helping Coop then hold on to that position for the time being as well. I think then good stuff indeed then. These 3 now in a bit of a battle of their own as well then as we go through the S's section as well. Lucas Percy 1.7 seconds back from Farf then, but the gap is closing then. Farf Legend is under pressure then from Serious Mushroom then in the S's section. Then the McLaren all over the back of the kick salve then flying through. Then Ginger Age unfortunately has lost out the DRS then to Moomin Ninja for the time being as we go through the S's section then, flying up the hill towards Dunlop then, trying to get himself back in that 1 second window that is all important in Formula 1 these days. But so far so good then on lap 13 then for Ginger Age. No big issues like he had last race. Then in the first race he had a drive-through penalty I think at this stage of the race. but he has not had to deal with that then, thankfully, so far, which hopefully he doesn't have to ever again. We'll have to wait and see in the next few laps or so. Out in front then, just over 1.1 seconds then was the gap between Sigismund and Vessia. I thought Sigismund was trying to escape the DRS clutches of the Alpine for the time being, but the Alpine of Vessia has got himself back in that window, which is going to be good news indeed then to power down that main straight then and trying to catch up then to P2 and to Gordo in the race lead as well then. On to lap 14 of 53 we go then, flying down the main straight for the race leaders. So far so good, and into turn one we go then. In the background, then let's see if Speed Car is any closer then to the Williams pair of coupe. Then into the pits comes Percy, then calling it down the medium compound tyres. Yellow flag for somebody then. And it's Moomin Ninja. Moomin Ninja's had an issue. He's gone through the DRS board then, and not sure what is going on there for Moomin Ninja. He's into the pits comes Lucas Percy, sorry, and he has gone on to another set of medium compound tyres, and he's been held in the pit lane then. No, he hasn't. He's been teleported down the pit lane as Moomin Ninja has got himself back underway finally. Reflection goes past then Lucas Percy coming out of the pits in P18. Fresh set of medium compound tyres then, so only 13 laps on the mediums then for Lucas Percy then. Potentially there was a bit of an issue then. Of course he had a spin as well then. I think he was hit by somebody then in the early stage of the race then, which cost him the spin. That would have overheated his tyres slightly as well then, so maybe that is why he has come off those medium compound tyres early. Moomin Ninja is off the circuit at Dunlop then, and trying to get himself back on the circuit as well. Spectating somebody crashing into a wall on purpose and causing a safety car there, so unfortunately for Moomin Ninja, he will be under investigation for causing a needless safety car there as well. Then safety car has been brought out then, and into the pits comes the race leader of Gordo then. Good stuff indeed. Let's see what tyres everyone's going to go on to here. They'll into the pits. I think everyone will come then from the medium compound tyres. Even the hard runners I think will come into the box as well. Now lap 15 of 53. So far so good then. And out of the pit lane we come, and back underway then for the first safety car that we've had in this race as well then. Anybody else going to stay out then? Legend is staying out then. I'm not quite sure that's the right call, but he is staying out nonetheless then. He will come out in P2 then, because Gordo has got himself through turns 1 and 2. There is Gordo in the foreground. Then he's on to another set of medium compound tyres then is Gordo. And back underway then, safety car has caught up the race leader then, so we are back underway and ready to get ourselves back racing pretty much, almost when the pit stops are done. I said needed this probably for the fuel, so I think the fuel levels might be having a few issues out there for some people as well then, as Lucas Percy has got himself back up into P10 where he was before. Not quite sure he's going to be too happy or too displeased about that then, because he's back up ahead of his rivals that he was battling with then, but he's still stuck behind Farf, which is definitely not where you want to be. Ginger Age is onto the hard compound tyres, then a few drivers then switching on to hard compounds, a few drivers switching on to mediums again then throughout the field. Then also there's going to be a couple of two stops I think out here. Only driver not to pit then is Legend in the Kit Sauber. He's up to P2. But I would imagine that those tyres will not be very competitive compared to the fresh hards and the fresh medium compound tyres around him at this stage, or on the restart of this race then, which will hopefully be in a lap or two. Yeah, it depends how quickly Styles and the Mercedes can catch up really. But so far so good then. And a bit of a lifeline there for both the Mercedes and for Styles as well then, as Lucas Percy and Farf then are switching places under the safety car, which is really clever. At this point I'll ask what we've been having for tea, or had for tea already, but unfortunately we don't know what the comment section's like because the comments are all over the place. Legend stays out still, so he's not going to pit lane this time, so he's going to stay out on those hard compound tyres. Not quite sure what everyone's had for their tea. which is a problem these days because the comment section doesn't want to tell me. I've got it on live chat rather than top messages, but it should be putting everybody's messages in there, but for some reason it doesn't want to. So that's that then. Reflection and Don of the Dons are overtaking each other as well then, so that is interesting stuff indeed then. Great from those two. Hungry Styles is just trying to catch up to the field now, and hopefully can get himself back in the race very shortly, but we'll have to wait and see then for Hungry Styles then, waiting for his car to catch up to the back of the pack then, and we can get ourselves resumed racing then in this one. Then we are ready to get ourselves restarted, I think, finally. 15 laps then for 16 laps at the end of this one then for Legend on his hard compound tyres. Everybody else is going to be on 2-lap-old tyres, apart from Percy, who's on 3-lap-old tyres after he did pit a lap before the safety car came out. So there is going to be quite a lot of a difference between the tyre compound, or the tyre life, the tyre wear, and Legend's 15 or 16-lap-old hard compound tyres at the end of this one. Then when will the restart be done? Will be held? We will wait and see. I think the safety car will be in very shortly, I should say, very soon, and we can get ourselves back underway then and racing for lap 17. Then I think it will be. Gordo had pizza and chips then, good stuff indeed. And safety car is still out there, so okay, brilliant stuff. Oh, blimey, it's a late call then, safety car in this lap then, brilliant stuff indeed. And fantastic stuff from Codemasters, they're sorting out Gordo then can get ourselves back underway then. He's gone now straight away then, but I think that safety car restart then might have caught a few people out. But there we go then, down the hill then we go then towards the first turn then, and Legend has put his nose in there then for the race lead then, but on those hard compound tyres I don't think he's got the traction then to keep up then, with Gordo flying through then on the fresh medium rubber then into the S's section we go then, and Legend then losing time hand over fist then through the S's section here to Gordo, who is flying on those fresh medium compound tyres. Sick as muck then on the hard compound tyres, then the fresher hard compound tyres is still stuck behind Legend as we go over the crest of Dunlop then in towards the first and second Degners. There is the Ferrari all over the back of the kick salver now as we go into the second Degner as well here, but Legend has held on to that P2 for the time being. Sorry. But there we go then, so far so good then as Legend, oh my goodness, there's a tap in the back then from Sick as muck. Yellow flags for Speed Kai as well then. Speed Kai's had an issue. He's gone straight on there as Speed Kai. And somehow hasn't got any wing damage as well then, which is pretty good. Sick as muck then has got past Legend, has he, through the spoon curve. There's contact between the Ferrari and the kick salver. Then again, there's a bit of rubbing is racing then between Sick as muck then and Legend this time. But over the crest of the hill then, Legend dropping down to P3. Then here comes the Alpine of Vessia then trying to get himself through on the medium compound tyres. Lucas Percy's got himself past Coupe then for P7, splitting the two Williams pair then for the time being as well. Then Legend then into the Casio Triangle, still holds on to P3 for the time being. DRS will now be available. Well, it won't be available, it'll be activated then, but of course it will be available then on the next start-finish straight as we go over the start-finish line then to start off lap 18 here. And here comes Vessia then on the attack then. Fresh medium rubber then for Vessia, then he's got the position, he's got P3 past Legend we go then, and Kamara Racer next to challenge the kick salver, I should say then, for that position as well. Then of course he needs to remember that oh my goodness me, he needs to remember that Legend is not on the same freshness of tyres, and he's almost into the back of the kick salver as we go up Dunlop then, and this is going to get hairy indeed. Then Kamara is pushing too hard then, and you've seen what happens when Kamara pushes too hard, but I think he's been very wise then and backed off into the first and second Degners as well now. But here he is lining up a move then in towards the hairpin very shortly. I think here comes Kamara then. Can he go for a move then? Here comes Lucas Percy on the attack as well. Then there's a sandwich now between the Racing Bulls then and the kick salvers as well then. over the crest of the hill. Then we go. Then Gordo's now got a 4-second lead. Then that's a gap that he created then with Legend in P2. Then on that restart is going to be very handy indeed then for Gordo then to try and hold on this time, unless there's any more safety cars, or not needless safety cars. That is, oh my goodness me, Vessi almost losing control of the car. Then here comes Legend over the crest of the hill. Then but he's got Kamara Racer with the company here as well. Then down towards 130R. Can the racing ball go through then for P4 or P4 it is? Yes, it is. No, not quite. Then Kamara Racer stays behind then and waits for the next opportunity for an overtake then into the Casio Triangle. Then of course there's going to be some DRS to play with them, but Legend has got himself that DRS on the back of Vess here as well. Then so far so good. Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Lucas Percy gets past Kamara Racer on the exit of the chicane. Then here comes Lucas Percy on his teammate then into the first turn, and he's got the position, I think. Has he? Yes, he has. Then here comes Faf trying to hold it around the outside of Legend as well. Then there's a grass being kicked up all over the place. The Alpine's gone through, I think, then into the S's section. He's got himself through. Then Kamara Racer is next to try and get himself past as well. Then there's contact again then between Kamara Racer and Legend as well as we go through the S's section then. But the Racing Bull then is just trying to get himself through as quickly as possible then, but he can't just yet then, not at this part of the circuit as well then. So far so good then, even in all from Rocket Lee as well. Then Rocket Lee then is in the comment section supporting somebody as well, but I think he's in the Racing Bulls now in bronze, so he'll be supporting Kamara and Kiki. Down the inside goes Young Lights then on Equaz, then trying to get moved then on the Williams car then over the Dunlop curve. Then he's got the position, I think, just about. Yes, he has. Kamara has got himself past Legend as well, just about. Yes, he has as well. Then so Kamara up into P6 now, but he's lost a lot of time then to Farf and Lucas Percy. Then through the spoon curve we go then, and back underway then for Kamara Racer, then back on the power and back away, then trying to get himself as far away as possible then from the Legend as well. Then those old hard compound tyres, 18 laps on the hard compound tyres, well 19 at the end of this one, compared to 4 or 5 lap old hard and medium compound tyres for the rest of the field who picked another the safety car there as well. So that is going to be treacherous indeed. Then Young Lights all over the back then of Legends. We go into the Casio Triangle, then Serious Mushroom, not Serious Mushroom, sorry, Ginger Raid picks up a penalty then with his McLaren then on the hard compound tyres now as well. Out in front then Vess here has gone for a move then for P2. He's up into P2 then passing Sickers him up. Kamara Race has been passed by Young Lights and Legend then as well. Up into P6 now for Legend as well. Then Young Lights has got himself through past the Racing Bulls then with some DRS as well into turn 1 and 2 then, and now he's on the attack then, trying to get himself past Legend here as well into the S's section, which is not an easy overtaking place there, and that kicks out then is holding everybody up here on those hard compound tyres. And Young Lights is going to go for a move here, is he? This is going to be a dangerous place to make a move then, but he has thought twice about it then. I think Equaz has got himself past Kamara Racer, and Kamara Racer is off the circuit there. Where's he gone then? He's all the way off the circuit there as well. He's retired on the track as well then. Brilliant. Why not just give up then? I think I'll just give up at the end of this season. There's no point in me bothering with this. But there we go then. Young Lights then getting past then into a P9, P6 I should say then. One thing goes wrong then, why not just retire in the race then? That makes sense, doesn't it? But there we are. Wonderful stuff indeed then. 2 retirements in this Grand Prix so far then. One was a deliberate DNF and one was a retirement on track as well then. So there we go. So far so good then from the rest of this field. Everybody else is still going in the right direction there, but not so much then for Legend, as Legend has spun the car around, and I didn't see exactly what happened then. I think he got on the curve then, it looked like, but he has spun the car around and got himself back underway then. But those hard compound tyres are not going his way, I don't think, at this stage then. 21 laps then of 53 then, almost at the halfway point then. Kamara Racer has left the session then. Kiki has got himself past Young Lights then for P6. Of course, Kiki then had a difficult first stint and a difficult first lap then, but he's already got himself back into the higher points positions as well in this race then. Just shows that you shouldn't give up then and quit on track, because anything can happen in league racing, and it usually does then. Speed Cars had an issue somewhere as well then, trying to get himself back in this race here as well, which is a big shame indeed. Legend has lost out to Vintage as well, and Legend, I'm not sure what happened there, but it seemed to go through 130R on the curve and lose the car, but I'm not quite sure. Sorry, my cough is coming back. Legend then soldiered on then on those hard compound tyres up there, but like I said, it could come back to him. You never know what's going to happen in this Grand Prix then. Sickers Muck then has been passed by Lucas Percy, who's got himself into the podium places now as Lucas Percy, unbeknownst to me because I've been not paying attention then, but there we go then. Let's go RB, says Rocket Lee then, just in time then for Kamara Racer to give up on track then and get himself a license point for quitting on track as well then. Brilliant stuff. Lucas Percy then lining up a move then for the for P2 in this race, and he might be under pressure from Sick as Muck then into the Casio Triangle, not quite then from the Ferrari, but so far so good out there then for Lucas Percy. Then he's going to go for a charge then for P2 here. DRS will be available then for the kick salvo then as we go down the hill towards towards turn 1, not 130R. But Sick as Muck is on the attack though. Sick as Muck trying to go for a move then, and Sick as Muck then almost into the side. Oh my goodness me. There's contact between Sick as Muck and Lucas Percy then. I'm not quite sure that either of them left much room for each other there, but nonetheless, they've got themselves back underway then. Farf in P5 right on the back of this battle as well here. Then Kiki 3 seconds off the field, then off the top 5. As it stands, they're trying to get himself into the fight as well as quickly as possible then. 6 seconds of penalties for Farf, then 3 for Young Lights, 3 for Reflection, 6 for Ginger Rage. But he is soldiering right there. He's into P12 now. Is Ginger Rage trying to keep up with the rest of the field. So far so good then in the McLaren. And in front then Sick as Muck and Farf, then Sick as Muck and Farf and switching places then through the hairpin then, and they're still side by side then as we go towards 130R, towards the spoon curve then. Farf slots in behind the Ferrari for the time being, that is through the spoon curve we go now. And I thought he was going to go for a lunge there as well. He's off the circuit then, is Farf. That's not part of the circuit you need to be on, unfortunately. 8.3 seconds the gap then to Gordo. Then so far the Aston Martin is flying out there. Then Vessia dipping a tyre into the grass. That's going to be dangerous stuff indeed. There's contact between Vessia and Lucas Percy then as we go into the Casio Triangle. And I'm not quite sure what the Alpine's tactics were there then, but he has lost out to Lucas Percy then. Potentially he will have some DRS then to play with, but I think actually Lucas Percy's got the DRS open because the detection point is before the Casio Triangle, isn't it? Into turn 1 then Lucas Percy up into P2 now as well, then Reflection passing Serious Mushroom for P9 in the Mercedes. And he's got the position there done and dusted, and up behind Equaz now as well. Then for P8 is the next position then. Hard compound tyres for Equaz. Then of course hard compound tyres is also for Sick as Muck. Then how far can they go in this race then? Ron the Dons is being passed by Speed Kai then, who is charging on now in this race. Speed Kai unfortunately had some sort of problem then in the opening stage of that restart then, and he's down the field. Then he's Speed Kai, former race winner. Then of course the first race winner of the season last week. Then 8.5 seconds the gap then to Lucas Percy. Then can Percy get that gap back down in his favour? Then can he charge after Gordo and claim back a race win? I think there was a race in last season there, but in Spain I believe it was, where Gordo was out in the lead then, and there was a different strategy then from in terms of tyre strategy then from Lucas Percy, and he clinched the race win then with a few laps to go then, overtaking Gordo on the track as well then. So we'll have to wait and see if he's going to repeat the feat here in Suzuka tonight. So far so good then. 8.0 seconds now. 8 seconds there is the gap then. So Lucas Percy is on a charge then, trying to bring that gap down then to the Aston Martin. And Vessia is being brought along with him though, but he's within the 1 second window still. Sick as Muck unfortunately has dropped out of that 1 second window then to Vessia. Farf in the train now. Kiki has got that 3 second gap there down to 1.4 seconds. So it's he's flying out there in the racing ball. The only racing ball left in this race, unfortunately. Equaz then is trying to get himself back through then, but he's under pressure now from Reflection here. Here comes the Mercedes driver then on the attack then into this. What's happened there? Legend and Hungry Styles have had some sort of problem then into the yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happened there between Styles and Legend then. Into the pits comes Legend then. He has got himself off those hard compound tyres I think now to get himself onto a new strategy out in front. Then the gap's starting to emerge then over 1 second then between the top 4. Favre though is keeping the pressure on then that Ferrari then of Sick as Muck. There they are then almost side by side into the hairpin. Then Favre thinks about it, but thinks twice about it as well then, so he cuts back inside then back behind the Ferrari once again. Then Kiki now in that 1 second window then to get himself into the fight then for the top 4, potentially more as well then for Kiki as well. This would be fantastic stuff indeed, a real turn of fortunes after a difficult first half of the race then for Kiki, then getting himself back up into the points then and doing a great job so far in this stint then. We don't want to curse him though, so we'll come back to somebody else then. We'll curse Farf then doing a great job then. He's doing fantastic. Is Farf then really well done indeed. Hopefully that doesn't curse him enough. But anyway, into the Casio triangle then once again, then 8.1 seconds the gap then between Lucas Percy and Gordo. It is coming down then for Kick-Sauber, or in the Kick-Sauber's favour I should say, as we cross on to lap 25 then of 53, almost at halfway distance here. Here comes Farf then on the attack, then can he get himself past the Ferrari then into P4, then he's looking for it, but he's too far back. No, he's not too far back, he's going for it anyway. Into turn 2 then, not quite then for Farf. And Geeky then just watching and waiting at this stage of the race, then just waiting to see if there's an opportune movement, or moment I should say, then to get himself past then, as Young Lights has joined the fight as well. Then 5 seconds back, then Reflection in P8, then the Reflection on his first outing here in 100% after missing last race, going off to Silverstone then for the Grand Prix, is doing a good job then in P8 then for the time being. Then Equaz down in P9 then right behind, and then as is Mushroom into the top 10 now for the McLaren outfit. Then Williams then of Coupe, as in Soup that is right behind them in P11 then. But there's quite a lot of hard runners in just inside or just outside the top 10 for the time being, which is going to come back in their favour then later on in this race when the mediums start to drop off. Then we saw about 13 laps then on the medium compound tyres for Lucas Percy. He's already done 11 laps now on those medium compound tyres, the second set that is. So that could be that could mean that it's going to come back in. He's going to come back in the pit lane very soon then to switch onto a different set of tyre. We'll have to wait and see. But so far so good then out in front then. Yes, like I said, there's a bit of a gap then. It's 8.3 seconds the gap then to the race leaders. They've got yellow flags out there again. Who's it for this time then? We don't know. Not quite sure. But yellow flags out there once again then, as I think Styles has been passed then by Legend this time now. Legend on his fresh medium compound tyres is back underway. Then Sicker's Muck has got himself past Vessia and into the podium places once again then for Sicker's Muck, then powering through on the hard compound tyres. So far so good then for Sicker's Muck then. He's on the hard compound as well, like I just said then, so he's going to be going long in this next stint then. Equaz has got himself back past Reflection as these two start off a battle then for that P8 position as well. Then Serious Mushroom waiting in the wings then for the for any extra positions that he might be able to pick up then in this race. Then Coop just right in behind then. Same for Ginger Age on the hard compound tyres as well then. In a good spot, those drivers on the hard compound tyres to get themselves further up into the points when the mediums do start to come in for their next pit stops, which we expect will have to happen very soon. Farf and Vessia then are joint together on track. Then there's a Kiki then pushing the Alpines through the Dunlop, through the hairpin I should say then. Young Lights is caught up to this battle as well here in the Haas in P7 now as well. There's a bit of a train forming behind Sicker's Muck. 3 seconds behind Lucas Percy then. Lucas Percy is losing time now to Gordo. Then Gordo is flying off in the distance there as well. Then great stuff indeed then for Gordo. So far so good then, looking for a good result here in Suzuka. But here comes Vessi then trying to get that podium place back I should say, as Kiki's got himself past Farf then into 130R, then up into P5 now for Kiki, splitting the two Alpines as well into the Casio triangle we go. So far so good then. Kiki is on a mission here as well, trying to get himself a good result then after a difficult first race of the season in Australia last week. Then can he get himself back into a contention? Can he get himself onto the podium as well here? Here comes Young Lights then. He's going to have put the pressure on Farf then into the first turn. There's contact between the two of them then, and into turns 1 and 2 then they've both got themselves through unscathed. Then Kiki holds on to P5, then Vessia holds on to P4 as Sicker's Muck holds on to P3. So far so good. Down the order then we've got Reflection still not be able to get himself past Equaz for the time being, and on those medium compound tyres, potentially medium compound tyres starting to fade at this stage of the race. We will have to wait and see who's going to be coming into the pit lane very soon. Serious Mushroom in P10, then Coop in P11, Ginger Age still holding on in P12. Vintage then is on the hard compound tyres, he's 3 seconds off the back then. Speed Car then trying to get himself back in the fight, but he has gained quite a lot of time then since his escapade, and now only 3 seconds off the back of Vintage as well. Then Don the Dons then is back underway then on the hard compound tyres. Legend then of course has pitted for fresh medium compound tyres, and Hungry Styles is soldering on out there as well. 9 seconds the gap between the Aston Martin of Gordo then and our P2 man then here in the Kick-Sauber then of Lucas Percy then as we go over the crest of the hill then to finish off lap 27 of 53. So far so good out there as well then, as the race laps are flying through at this stage of the race. But of course we're expecting some more pit stops to come then in this Grand Prix. We're not sure when or who or what, but yes, here's one, and it is Lucas Percy then into the pits. So he's calling it a day, 13 laps again then on the medium compound tyres for Lucas Percy. He has called it a day then on the second set of mediums. Now what tyre will he go on to next is the question. and it is a set of hard compound tyres then, so away he goes. And can he get those hard compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix is the question. We'll have to wait and see then. Vintage, I think, will come out ahead of the Kick Sauber, then potentially Speed Kai as well. Then where is the Kick Sauber? Where is the Kick Sauber? Then we can't quite tell. Any chance we could see it? Yes, we can. He's come out behind Speed Kai, then just behind the Haas car, then into the SS section. Then, of course, trying to get those hard compound tyres warmed up. Then will be the next challenge then for Lucas Percy, going through those SS sections as well. Then that's going to be very difficult stuff indeed. Then good stuff from Lucas Percy. Then onto the hard compound tyres. Can he get to the end of the race from here is the question. We will have to wait and see. But lap 28 then to lap 53 is approximately 25 or so laps, I think that is. So potentially it can be done. We'll have to wait and see exactly what we'll get. Then we'll just have to wait and see first who's going to be the first hard runner to try and get that far. Who has done 13 laps already so far. Then and currently Sick as Muck then is P2 and leading the charge then on the hard compound tyres. Equaz then in P7, followed by Mushroom, Coupe, Ginger Rage, Vintage are the next challengers then on the hard compound tyres, and they will be in the points then when the medium runners do start to pit. So far, no pit stops then for Gorda, then he's staying out. Then, oh dear, what's happened? Then Sick as Muck's had an issue then at the Casio Triangle then somewhere, and he's got himself back underway, has he? Yes, he has, finally. But I'm not quite sure what happened there then, as he's... Oh, there's an Alpine of Vessia there as well. Oh dear, what is going on with his connection, isn't it? Not again. Brilliant stuff. So, yeah, oh dear, fantastic. So there we are then. Well, unfortunately that is, I think, down to Vessia. We saw Vessia have an issue in the previous season with connection. Speed Kai's got himself past, sorry, Lucas Percy's got himself past Speed Kai, has he? I think he has, just about. Yes, he has then. Good stuff indeed. And up into P13 now for the Kick Sauber car, of course, with pitting for the fresh hard compound tyres. Vessia and Sick as Muck then seem to have come together somewhere, because I think they had that issue into the Casio Triangle. The Ferrari was off the circuit, and then Vessia then just appeared out of nowhere then right behind him. So I think it was involving Vessia and Sick as Muck then somewhere at the Casio Triangle then has had caused some sort of issue then for some reason. I'm not quite sure exactly what. Yeah, not good stuff indeed. But anyway, we'll have to crack on then. Casio Triangle then for Gordo. Then he is leading the race then by 13 seconds at the moment. Of course, pit stop still to come, but he is staying out once again then on the medium compound tyres. Speed Car's got himself past Vintage then into the spoon curve then, and Vintage I think giving way then to the medium runner then of Speed Car then as we go on to lap 30 of 53 now, speeding through then onto the next part of the race, then next half of the race as well then. Out in front then Farf now trying to challenge then Kiki for that P2 position. Then here comes Young Lights as well then on the attack into the first turn. Not quite then for Young Lights, and he has to sit behind at the Farf, behind the Alpine for the time being. Vessia then is back within DRS range. Equaz now has got himself a DRS slingshot then to try and hold on to in the Williams car then on the hard compound tyres. Then, like I was saying, Sick as Muck was doing a good job then on the hard compound tyres. He was up in P2 then, and he was holding on to the net race lead, of course, once the medium runners do have to make their pit stops, or do make their pit stops, I should say. But when they will make their pit stops is another question. We've only seen Lucas Percy pit at any point in this race then, for an unscheduled stop that is. Everybody else has just cracked on with it under the safety car, or just staying out as long as possible, it looks like. Lucas Percy now is 4 seconds behind Ginger Rage, who's currently in P11 for the time being. And looking good indeed. But so far so good. Then out in front then the battles are starting to warm up then between Young Lights and Farf. Then Vessia, Sick as Muck and Equaz. Then Reflections being brought with them, so is Serious Mushroom and Coupe then to the top 10. And now in a bit of a challenge then for all the way up to P5 at the moment. As well as of course Young Lights, Farf and Kiki then for P2 as we cross into lap 31 then of 53 then through the Casio Triangle once again. Then Farf now has lost out to the DRS then of Kiki then, and this could be putting pressure on then as Farf is into the pit lane, so he's calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres then. Into the box then for Farf then. Will anybody else follow him in then and follow suit then from the Alpine team? Then Reflections in the box as well then. Oh dear. almost into the wall as well then. Soft compact tyres going on the Alpine for Farf then. That is going to be very quick indeed then in the next stint then. Where's he going to come out in relation to his rivals as well then? Behind Lucas Percy, behind Speed Kai, then behind Vintage as well then. His Farf does exit the pit lane here, then Reflections onto a set of medium compact tyres. Can they get to the end of the Grand Prix from here? It might be a bit of a stretch then for the Mercedes driver. We'll have to wait and see then. He's been overtaken then by his teammate of Don the Dons then, sorry, into turn 1 and 2. Reflection back out in P15 and back underway then here as well. So far so good then. But out in front then we've got Vessia then P5. Then he's putting the pressure back on the Ferrari of Sick as Muck then. Equaz coming with them as well. Serious Mushroom in the fight. Then Cooper's just dropped out that 1 second window, which is going to be very dangerous indeed. Then Ginger Age is up into the top 9, which is fantastic to see them. But I don't think he'll be there for too long because Lucas Percy is only 2.4 seconds behind now. And he is on a charge then on those fresher hard compound tyres then for Kick Sauber. Then in the Kick Sauber I should say. Speed Kai then is going to have to pit at some point as well. Then same for Vintage as well. Farf is onto a fresh set of soft compound tyres. So he will be absolutely flying out there compared to those on much older hards or mediums as well. Then on to lap 32 of 53. Only 20 laps remain then at the end of this one as well. Then so far so good then in this Grand Prix. And it has been a cracking race then so far. Then here comes Farf over the crest of the hill. The soft compound tyres are going to get him into contention then for an overtaking position then before he even gets to the Casio Triangle then I think. But late on the brakes indeed then as well for Farf then into the Casio Triangle then all over the back now of Vintage. Into the pits comes Coop then, so Coop calling it down on the hard compound tyres. Interesting stuff indeed then. Here comes Farf then with some DRS then and a bit of an overtaking boost then down the main straight then getting himself past Vintage up into P11 for the time being as well then. Good stuff indeed. Then Coop is onto a new set of medium compound tyres and coming out of the pit lane now. And where will he be? He'll be in the battle then with Reflection here, I think, then, because Reflection has done 1 lap extra. Of course, pitting a lap before then with the undercut, then has got himself into contention then with the Williams driver of Coupe then to try and get himself past then into the S's section. Then 1 lap extra of data, then 1 lap extra of knowledge then on the track then with the tyres slightly more warmed up as well then for Reflection, but he's stuck behind the Williams car, I should say, then for the time being. Out in front then 12.7 seconds the gap coming down to quarter then from Kiki for the time being, that is, but of course they still had to make their stops, so we would imagine that is. We're not sure when or what is the next question, but we have no idea. We'll have to find out when they come in the box. Gorda then is staying out once again then. He's done 18 laps now on those medium compound tyres. What will Kiki be up to then is the next question then. Where will he come out then if he does pit as well is the other question. He is staying out nonetheless anyway, so it doesn't matter. Young Light's also staying out. He's into the top 3 for the time being as well now, with Farth's pit stop as well then. Sick as Muck then on the hard compound staying out, so is Vessia then in the Alpine, and Equaz and Serious Mushroom as well then. Percy of course has pitted for the fresh tyres. He's got himself past Ginger Age now. He's got some DRS then to play with as well. I think they're down towards turn 1 then. He's up into P8 for the time being. Farf sets the fastest lap of the race, then he's up into P11, but now on the attack then with Speed Kai in towards turn 1. Can he get himself through then into turn 1? Oh my goodness me, I thought he was going to go for a late lunge there, and that was the door opening then, but not so much staying open then for Farf. P11 for the time being on the soft compound tyres then, trying to get himself past the Haas as quickly as possible, that is. But so far so good then. Speed Guy holding on then. He's gonna have to pit. He's gone very, very old medium compound tyres, and as is 4 of the top 5 at the moment as well then, so we're not quite sure how long the hard compound tyres can hold on then. For Lucas Percy, he's going to have to hope that they can hold on for 25 laps or so then, because we've got 20 laps remaining at the end of this one then. But so far so good then out there. 4 seconds the gap then for Lucas Percy to Serious Mushroom. Then Ginger Age has been overtaken then, but he's holding on then in the points paying positions now for Ginger Age. So far so good then, as Speed Kai and Farf then still battling away then, this time through the spoon curve then. Farf then trying to get himself back up into the top 10 positions then with those soft compound tyres then, compared to the very old medium compound tyres then for Speed Kai then into 130R then. Are they going to go side by side through 130R? This is going to be dangerous stuff indeed then. Farf sneaks ahead then up into 130R, then he's up into the top 10 then for the time being as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Well done indeed between the two drivers as well, then keeping it clean through 130R, then side by side. Fantastic stuff indeed. Nobody else opting for a pit stop out there as well. Speed Kai also carrying on as well then, so they are deciding that the tyres that they're on are the best tyres to be on, as Coop and Don of the Dons then are battling away. Then Speed Kai's got himself back past Favre, has he? Into turn 1, then Favre holds on with the soft compound tyres. Reflection's got himself past Don of the Dons as well, then Coop up into P13, then Reflection up into P14 now, as well as these two on the fresh medium compound tyres are going through into turn 1 then, and now they're back underway then. Good stuff indeed. 8 seconds the gap then to Vintage. Of course, everybody else apart from Favre and Lucas Percy ahead of these two have not pitted again just yet. They're in this race, so they will have to come into the box at some point in the Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see when is the question, but so far so good then for everybody else who is still in this race then. Out in front then, the gaps are very much evenly spread. We've got yellow flags then. What's happened? Not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what happened there. But nonetheless, then Gordo is in the pit lane then. So Gordo is calling it a day now on the medium compound tyres. Young Lights and Kiki are battling away then into the Casio triangle then, and Young Lights has peeled away into the pit lane. Hard compound tyres going on Gordo's Aston Martin then, and where will he come out in relation to the rest of the field? Then Kiki takes the lead. He's done 20 laps on his medium compound tyres. Then Gordo then coming down to the pit lane now. Sick as Muck then is coming through onto the main straight then. Where will he come out then in relation to Sick as Muck then? Trying to go around the outside then is the Ferrari then, that he can't go through the Mercedes, he can't go through the Aston Martin, he has to go round it legally, but he can't, so he stays in P3 then. Of course, there's a 20 lap difference in tyres then between Gordo and Sick as Muck then, and the rest of the field as well then, so that is going to be quite handy then for Gordo, I would imagine. Into the pits comes Sirius Russian, and he's onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres, and just out ahead of Coop then, only just out ahead of Coop and Reflection. These two then going to resuming their battle then. Soft compound tyres going on the hat of Speed Kai then, and back underway then for Speed Kai. So far so good out there. And yeah, he's got himself back underway and going to be speeding along just like Favre was a few laps ago then. Favre is now on the back of Ginger Rage, and this is the admin battle that we're going to have to wait and see what is going to unfold here as well then in front of our very eyes then. Old hard compound tyres for Ginger Rage then compared to very new soft compound tyres for Favre. I don't think it's going to be much of a contest unless Ginger Rage wants to get his elbows out. Then we'll have to wait and see. But there we go. Then we'll have to wait and see what Ginger Rage's mood is going to be like then in this part of the race. Up into P7 though, looking good so far in this race then for Ginger Rage. Then of course penalties permitting, but we'll have to worry about that. We'll come back to that later. Into the pits comes Kiki. Then Sick as Muck has picked up a 3-second penalty then for track limits as well. Then that's going to be costly indeed. Then he's on the back of Gordo then as we fly down into the first couple of turns. Then where is Kiki going to come out of the pit lane? Then he's a medium compound tyres. It's a slow stop, it looks like, for Kiki, unless it's just me. But seems to have taken a while, that stop. He has lost out to Ginger Rage then. Favre has got himself past Ginger Rage as well then, so Ginger Rage not putting up too much of a fight then, as Kiki comes out behind Young Lights then on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. Mediums to the end of the Grand Prix, I would expect from here, shouldn't be a problem. Then Sirius Button has been passed by Coop, up into P11 now for Coop. Then Vintage is struggling on the hard compound tyres out there. Unfortunately, I don't think this is the best strategy then for those drivers on the hard compound tyres. Ginger Rage, Equaz, Sick as Muck as well. That he has lost out to the DRS train, or DRS range I should say, of Gordo. Now Gordo on the fresh hard compound tyre. Oh my goodness me, what's going on there? Oh, it's Styles and Gordo. I thought it was something else going wrong then, as yeah, I don't think Styles is even driving in this race, to be honest. It doesn't look like his car is actually under control from a driver. But nonetheless then, another person that doesn't want to bother. So there we go. Yes, so there we go then. Good stuff indeed. So Gordo then takes the lead, keeps the lead, I should say, of the Grand Prix. Sick as Muck then is in P2, but I think we'll have to make another stop very soon. Same for Vessia and same for Ekpaz as well. Then Lucas Percy could regain next P2. Favre coming through then as what is that Red Bull doing? It's Hungry Styles again, trying to get himself out of the way, I think. But yeah, I'm not quite sure if he gets into the box, then he can get onto a fresh set of tyres then and back underway. But Equaz has got himself past Vessia now up into P3. Then Young Light sets the fastest lap of the race and back underway then for Hungry Stars, I think. although there's still yellow flags appearing on the main straight for some reason. It would be nice if they didn't have those, because those just make me think we're going to get a needless safety car again. But so far so good. Then Coop back past Mushroom, then these two resuming their battle then from the out of the pit stop phase, the second pit stop phase, and lap 37 has commenced finally. So far so good. Then we've only got how many have we got? We've got 15 laps to go, something like that. But yeah, so far so good. Then Vessia now on the back of it. Well, he's been passed by Ekman. I think, of course, then these three, we think these three have to pit again. Then we're not quite sure. But as we've got more yellow flags again, brilliant. But we're not quite sure what the strategy is going to be. Then potentially they could go for the soft compound tyres then towards the latter part of this race. Then we've seen the mediums only last for 15 or 13, 14 laps or so there for Lucas Percy, and for other drivers potentially it's just down to the setup and down to which car it is as well then. Yes, we'll have to wait and see then which tyres are going to be opted for. I suppose you could say there's Ginger Rage has been passed by Young Lights then into the Casio Triangle, then up into P7 now for the Haas driver then. Where will he come out then? Where will they come out then? Nobody making any more pit stops then, so that is that. Don of the Dons has been disqualified for driving the wrong way, and that is brilliant stuff indeed. Brilliant. Goodness me. Kiki has got himself past Ginger Rage and up into P8 now as well then. Brilliant stuff from Kiki as well then. He's on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. Serious Mushroom back past Coop as these two carry on their battle then, lap after lap then, in towards turn 1, switching places it looks like then, as Vintage then still holds on to that P10, but for the time being that is, because Mushroom then is gaining on the fresh medium compound tyres. Yellow flags still fluttering around. I don't know. I think it might. I don't know what it's for. That is because it's on the back straight then, and there's nobody there. So I don't know. Yeah, fantastic stuff indeed. Then fingers crossed it will go away. I think it might have gone away now. Brilliant. So good stuff. Good timing indeed. 38 laps then of 53, and we can crack on then for the twilight zone then of this Grand Prix as well. Then 38 laps then have been completed. 15 laps remain. And the end of this one as well then. So far so good then for I think maybe even 14 runners then. I don't think Styles and Legend are in the race then, unfortunately. There we go then into the Casio Triangle then once again then for Equaz and Vessia flying down the hill then to start off lap 39 on 53. Then here comes Lucas Percy on the attack now on the Williams of Equaz. Can he get both of them then into turn 1? Always thought about it, but he has to back off then, gets himself past Equaz. Then Mushroom picks up a penalty. Unfortunately for Mushroom, that's going to be costly indeed. Then he might be able to get himself back in the points then, because there's still going to be stops to be made then, as Young Light's almost losing the car then through turn 1. Serious Mushroom passes Vintage, I think, then up into, oh my goodness me, then passes Vintage then, but is he going to get passed by Reflection and by Coop as well then into turn 1 and 2 then? Serious Mushroom up into the point pair positions. Coop has got himself through as well then. Unfortunately for Vintage on those old hard compound tyres, he's struggling out there now, and I think needs to come into the box then to get off those tyres as quickly as possible. And Far picks up another penalty for his troubles, and I think Farf's got like 9 seconds penalties then. Yes, he has. So penalties have been rolling in then for Farf then. Unfortunately for Farf, that is going to be very costly indeed to his end race result, I would imagine. As here comes Lucas Percy now. He's on the back of Vessia then. 11 lap old hard compound tyres compared to 25 lap old or 24 lap old medium compound tyres. I don't think there's going to be much of a contest here, to be honest. Even though there's differences in car performance, then I don't think it's going to be too difficult for Lucas Percy to swoop past the Alpine and back into the podium places here as well then. But it'll be a question of when, not if. But he has gone for the move now into the Casio Triangle. Then he's up into P3, back up into the podium places, like I said, and now chasing down Gordo as well. And the gap is still about, where would it be? It will still be about, I think, about an 8 or 9 seconds, and as it was then before the pit stop phases. Kiki sets the fastest lap of the race, then he's in the DRS range now of Farf as we trundle down the main straight. Then Young Lights is following closely in behind as well. Then these three resuming their battle then from the previous stint. Lucas Percy's got himself clear now of Vessia, and now trying to chase down his next challenger then of Sick as Muck. Then currently Sick as Muck has got a 3-second penalty, so he only needs to gain a 10th or 2 for Lucas Percy to get himself within that range then to gain P2 on the track. but of course that will be after the classification has been completed, and Vessier picks up a penalty. Unfortunately, Vessier, he's gone wide at Degna 2, and Equaz has gone through, then up into P4 now for the Williams car. Good stuff indeed there from Equaz. Then he's once again putting on a consistent performance, as we've been accustomed to as well then from Equaz last season, gaining P3 in the standings with some fantastic displays. Brilliant stuff indeed then. The Dons was hit from behind, he said, so that is why he spun out there. I'm not quite sure who was behind him there, but there we go then. Kiki, oh my goodness me, Kiki, Farf and Vessier, no, Kiki, Farf and Younglight, sorry, these three battling away then. I'm not quite sure why Farf is weaving then, because he was the one who squeezed Kiki out there and cost Kiki the position as well then. Into 130R we go then, and flying through once again then. Here comes the here comes the racing ball, I should say, of Kiki then into the Casio Triangle, trying to get himself through. Then yellow flags for a Haas out there. It's not for Young Lights, it's for Speed Kai, who's had a problem at the spoon curve and getting himself back underway then. Here we come down the main straight then. Young Lights has got himself past, then can he get himself past Farf as well then into turn 1? He has got himself past Farf and into turn 1, then up into P6 now for Young Lights, and charging on then of course as well then. Farf on the soft compound tyres. Might have to think about pitting again then actually in this race then, because I don't know if those soft compound tyres are going to make it to the end of the Grand Prix from here. He's already done 10 laps, then there's only there is 12 laps or so to go at the end of this Grand Prix, to the end of this Grand Prix I should say as well then. Kiki's in a prime spot as well then to get himself a good result in this race then. No penalties as well for Kiki, although I might have just cursed him. Then Speed Kai's in the pit lane then to get a new set of boots on. Then for some reason my controller is vibrating, and a front wing change then for Speed Kai. It's gone from bad to worse then for the winner then of the first race of the season last week in Australia. He has not had a good Japanese Grand Prix, unfortunately for him. It's fair play for soldiering on out there. Of course, that is the main thing. So Kiki then is soldering on as well, trying to get himself into a prime position to attack Farf then with some ERS. Then it looks like he's going to go for a move then up the crest of the hill then into P7 I should say then. Before we get to 130R then, Gordo sets the fastest lap of race then in the Aston Martin. So far so good for Gordo as well then. I think Kiki is just about snuck into DRS range then of Young Lights as well then. Young Lights picks up a 3-second penalty as well. That's bad news for him. Vessier is into the pit lane, so Vessier finally calling it a day then, as so is Farf then. Farf calling it a day then on the soft compound tyres, and potentially going to go on to a new set of softs then in the for the final stint then of this race then. Lap 42 of 53. Ginger Age back up into P7 then. Look at him go. He is flying out there then, is Ginger Age, and this is cracking stuff indeed then. Unfortunately for Ginger Age, he's got 6 seconds of penalties to be added onto his race time. So although having said that, medium compound tyres, let's say they've done about 15 laps then at max then, we might see Coupe, Reflection and potentially Mushroom then, their tyres start to fall off towards the end of this race then, so potentially we might see Ginger Age then, even with his 6 seconds of penalties then, picking up some points in this race. We'll have to wait and see then. Fingers crossed that will be the case then. That will be absolutely momentous then if that is going to happen. But of course we don't know that, because Ginger Age usually puts something up. Maybe he'll just crash out on the last lap. You never know what Ginger Age is going to do. Then it's Ginger Age. He does what he wants. But there we go then. Evening from Kia as well then. Good evening to you as well then. Kiki, has anybody in the comment section got the England score? Just let us know what's going on in the England match, would you? Not that we really care, we want Netherlands to win, but there we go then. Into 130R then for Kiki. Lap 43 of 53 then. 10 laps remain then at the end of this one. Then here comes Kiki on the charge then, trying to get himself past Young Lights then into P5 then, and trying to chase down Equaz for P4 then, and potentially even Lucas Percy and Sick as Muck then for a podium place in this race then for Kiki. That would be fantastic stuff indeed then, after a very difficult first quarter of the race, or first third of the race then. Into P5 he goes then, he takes the place there. Vessier's got himself past Vintage then into P11 then. Coupe and Reflection switching places then into P8 and P9 respectively now for Reflection in the Mercedes and Coupe in the Williams. And Sirius Mushroom then is waiting in the wings right behind them as well. Good stuff indeed then. Farf then has pitted again for another set of soft compound tyres. I'm not quite sure if he can get himself back in this one. Speed Kai then is soldiering on out there as well then, which is fair play to Speed Kai for keeping going in this Grand Prix as well then. Gordo's got a 10-second lead then. Sick as Muck is staying out then. He's carrying on. He's soldiering on those hard compound tyres after pitting under the safety car, I think, for those. Same for Equaz as well then. Lucas Percy has made an extra stop then. Speed Kai has picked up the fastest lap of the race. That will be an extra point for himself and for the Haas team then, if he can hold on to that then to the end of the Grand Prix and he finishes the full race, that is, as well. Then we'll have to wait and see. 1-1 at half time then. That is terrible news. We wanted Netherlands to be 5-0 up at this point, but that is a shame. Lucas Percy now within DRS range of Sick as Muck then, as the racing between the top two, well, two of the top three, gets closer and closer, and Kiki has gone for a move then on Equaz, then into the Casio triangle, then Young Lights, has tried to go for a move as well, I think there, but he has to back out then. Equaz then dropping down to P5 then. I think Kiki's got the DRS then. I think yes he has. Then he's staved off the attack then from Equaz. Equaz has held on to P5 though. Young Lights couldn't get himself through then. 29 lap old hard compound tyres compared to Young Lights' very younger, much younger medium compound tyres. 20 lap younger medium compound tyres, I should say. Then Cooper's got himself back past Reflection. These two are catching up then to, well, these three with Serious Mushroom included, catching up to Ginger Age. Into the pits comes Vintage, then soft compound tyres going on that Red Bull then to the end of the Grand Prix from here, and back underway then for the Vintage as well then, trundling down the pit lane there to get himself back onto lap 44 of 53 then. So far so good out here for Gordo as well then. 11 seconds the gap now to Lucas Percy then. Couldn't get himself past Sick as Much, sorry. We've got yellow flags for Speed Kai, then Speed Kai needs to get himself moving, and he's caused a VSC. Well, why don't you just reset the track if you're going to cause a VSC? You might as well. Right then, who's going to come in the pit lane is the question then. I think Gordo might be able to sneak in and sneak back out then. We'll have to wait and see. He thinks about it, but he doesn't want to risk it, I don't think, there for Gordo, which is fair enough. Who will come into the pit lane then is the question then. Ginger Age is potentially going to go diving in the pit lane, same for Equaz. Will Sick as Muck come in the pit lane here? No, he stays out then, does the Ferrari, then on to lap 45 then for Sick as Muck then. Young Lights then stays out then, so does Equaz then. Ginger Age is coming through the Casio triangle now. Will he stay out then? Will he get a drive-through penalty again then, like he did in Australia? Then he is staying out also then, is Ginger Age then on to lap 45 then for the McLaren. And back underway then, I think... no, we've got VSC still out then, so no more pit stops then, I don't think, for anybody out there, unfortunately. I don't think Legend is close enough then to make a stop then, unfortunately, either, so that will be a detriment to his race then. Speed Kai is back out of the pit lane, ahead of the Williams. I think that is... no, it's Equaz. Ginger Age has got a drive-through penalty. Goodness me, Ginger Rage has got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC again. Oh, Ginger Rage. It was looking so good for you, but unfortunately it's a double jeopardy then with the same happening in Australia as well then. Unfortunately with Ginger Rage that has been costly indeed. And yes, very unfortunate then for Ginger Rage then. He was looking good then for some good points as well here. Potentially then, of course, Coop then is on much fresher tyres. Same for Reflection and same for Mushroom then right behind him, as is Vessier and Farf then in the Alpines just outside the top 10. And so it could have come costly then to Ginger Rage, not regardless anyway. But unfortunately, drive-through penalty is going to be very very bad news then for Ginger Rage then, as we cross into 130R then for the 46th time then for Ginger Rage then, trying to get himself into the box then, as Cooper's gone through then into P7 now, passes the McLaren, then Kiki and Young Light switching places, then Kiki's got himself Young Light has got himself ahead of Kiki. Ginger Rage is into the pit lane now to serve the drive-through penalty that is going to be very costly to his race, unfortunately. Then he is going to come back out potentially, like I said, then we might see some more pit stops though for the likes of Reflection, Coop, maybe Mushroom as well. Then we have to wait and see then. We might see some tyres explode as well then for the likes of Sick as Muck and Equaz, who have been soldiering on for 30 plus laps and on the hard compound tyres. Then Ginger Rage is going to come out of the pit lane. He's going to be ahead of Vintage in P12 then, but so it's a better result, I suppose you could say, than last week. because I think he finished P14 last week. But yeah, it'll be a better result then for Ginger Age than it was last week. But unfortunately, he is 6 seconds now off of Farf, then 7 seconds off of Farf, then he's on fresh soft compound tyres as well then. So a big shame then for Ginger Age then. That has been a very bad drive to pick up then towards the end of this race then. But he has got himself back underway then, and got his head up then, and got himself a 3-second penalty then to go with it as he goes through the first second Degness as well then. That was tempting, says Gordo. I think he was talking about to pit then for a fresh set of tyres then under that VSC then, but thankfully that was well, he didn't pit because he is only 11.8 seconds off from ahead of Lucas Percy, I should say, then in the lead of this race. Then Speed Car sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Kiki's back passed through into P4, then passing Young Lights then in towards turn 1. Then 3.6 seconds the gap then to the podium places. If Kiki can get himself within 3 seconds then of Sick as Muck, then he could get himself a podium here as well. Reflection's got himself past Coop then for P7 now for Reflection. Good stuff indeed then, trying to get himself through turn 1 and 2, then locking up the inside right there as well then for the Mercedes, but he's kept hold of the place then for the time being. Good stuff indeed then. The last few embers of this race then are dying out then as well. Lap 47 then of 53 then. Gordo is coming through towards Spoon Curve then to finish off lap 47. Then there'll be 5 laps remaining at the end of this one. And so far so good then. I'm getting tired, so there we go then. But that's been a brilliant race to be fair so far then. Unfortunately one needless safety car, and a couple of one just DSQ for I think Don the Don said he got hit then and had to try and get himself back on track, and it disqualified him instead. And Kamara Racer decided just to drive off the track then at Deckner 2 then, and DNF as well then. So then yellow flags being fluttered as well then once again then, so hopefully there's no problems out there once again then, fingers crossed. Legend is getting in the way then of his teammate. I think Legend is trying to unlap himself here then, but this is technically illegal because you can't give your rival teammate a tow, unfortunately, especially if you're a lapped car then in this iteration of ALR. So there you are then. So that is bad news indeed for Legend, who is going to have a penalty coming his way if he doesn't get out of the way of the blue flags then very soon. But of course he is on fresh soft compound tyres, so he probably can extend that gap then. Reflection's had an issue. No, he hasn't. Where is he? Reflection's been passed then by Coop. I thought he had an issue because I couldn't see where he was, but he has been passed then by Coop then up into P7 now for Coop. Lucas Percy then is in P2 then, trying to get himself a comfortable gap then to Sick as Muck, who's done 33 laps now with hard compound tyres. That's a mammoth stint indeed then. Same for Equalizer and same for Ginger Age as well then on those hard compound tyres. Fantastic stint then from those three. And so far so good then. So Legend then has unlapped himself from Lucas Percy then. If he can unlap himself from Gordo, who's 12 seconds ahead then he can get himself back on the lead lap here, but I think it might be too little too late then for Legend, unfortunately then. But he is just trying to test out which soft compound tyre he's going to be using in the Japanese Grand Prix and Gold then in a week, or in a few days time, not a week's time, in a few days time on the Sunday. It doesn't look like we're going to have to worry about it too much because England won't be playing on Sunday, they'll be playing on Saturday in the third place playoff. So there we go then, problem solved. Sick as Muck then is still holding on to the DRS then of Lucas Percy then so far, and Lucas Percy then is holding on to the DRS then of his teammate then of Legend, which is unfortunately going to be quite costly then for the Kick Sauber team then if it carries on that way, because this is like I said, it's part of the ALR rules now, but you can't do this sort of thing. So those of you who are listening, you've got an idea of what's going to be going on then in the stewards room then after this race. Vessio has got himself into the fight then with Coop and Reflection as well. Then Vessio up into P8 I should say now, getting past Reflection now on those soft compound tyres. Will the soft compound tyres last out then? Will the mediums last out then? Because of course the Reflection's done 18 laps now on the medium compound tyres. Speed Car picks up a 3-second penalty before his travels as well. Then he's down in P15, but he's soldiering on out here in this Grand Prix as well. Then Kiki is now within DRS range. He's now within more of that. He's now all over the back then of Sick as Muck then. As we go into the Spoon Curve of lap 49 of 53, then we are almost there. Fingers crossed we can get there very soon. But so far so good then. Kiki on the charge now. Can he get himself past Sickers Muck then up into P3? Yes, he can. Then up the hill then towards, as we've got a Haas going slowly. It's Speed Kai once again then. Struggling out there as well. Then Kiki up into P3, I should say. Then now trying to get himself past Lucas Percy and his rivals, his teammates then of Legend then, who is still giving Lucas Percy a tow. Unfortunately, he doesn't realise that this is going to be costing Lucas Percy and himself then in this race. Then Speed Kai is off the circuit at 130R and trying to get himself back on the circuit as well. Then so he's having a few issues there as well. Then Sickers Muck has been passed by Young Light into P4 for Young Lights now. The hard compact tyres struggling now. 35 laps, then they're getting worse for wear for sure. Then here comes Vessia, then he's got himself past Coop, then up into P7 now for the Alpine, then charging on then is Vessia. Into the pits comes Farf, then back into the pits comes Farf, then unfortunately for Farf, then it's not worked out then those soft compound tyres, but potentially he's got another set of soft compound tyres to go on to for a fastest lap point here. Ginger Age will get himself back up into P11 now, so if anybody does have any issues, then Ginger Age could pick up the points, then pick up the pace and pick up the places there as well. Then if anything does go awry, Legend then has been lapped then by oh my goodness me, a Speed Kai. Oh god, Speed Kai then is having a few issues out there as well, it looks like then, so he needs to get himself out of the way then of the cars on the flying lap on their fast laps. Or flying laps on the lead lap, I should say. There we go. But so far so good then for the rest of the races out there as well. Kiki's got himself within DRS range of Lucas Percy. Then DRS range now for Kiki. This is absolutely flying out here. Oh no, he's got himself a 3-second penalty then, as I cursed him. So that'll be music to the ears then of Lucas Percy then, or music to the eyes then of Lucas Percy, because he doesn't have to fight too hard now with Kiki. Then he can just use the he can just use the DRS then to stay ahead and stay outside of that 3-second window and get himself that P2 position then regardless. And Gordo started off lap 51 of 53. Then we've only got 2.5 laps remaining here of the Japanese Grand Prix. And there we go then. Reflections got himself back past Coop, has he? Yes, he has. Then up into P8 then once again then, as we've got lapped cars still trying to fight for some reason. And yeah, that is definitely not what we want to see through the S's section then. Speed Kai and Legend then don't understand what a lapped car is, it doesn't look like, so there we go. But there we are then. Mushroom out into the top 10 then for the time being. Then he's holding on to that DRS then for oh god. He's holding on to that DRS then. Good. For the final points pen positions then is Mushroom then doing a good job there. 20 seconds back is Ginger Age. That drive-through penalty, 20 seconds or so, has been costly indeed, because Ginger Age could be in the points pair positions at this stage of the race. Then yellow flags for Speed Kai, who has gone straight on again at the hairpin then. So I'm not quite sure what Speed Kai is up to really, to be honest, because yeah, he seems to be causing crashes for any reason there. Speed Kai then, just because the race isn't going your way does not mean that you can just start crashing and affecting people's races who are still having their own race as well. But there we are then. Kiki then getting a bit lopsided, I should say, out of the final couple of corners then, as almost lost out to that 1 second window then of Lucas Percy. Flying through the S's now is the Red Bull Racing Bull driver, sorry. Coop is now putting the pressure on Reflection once again then for that P8 position. He is going to gain 2 places regardless then with Vessia and Reflection's penalties in this race. Then we'll have a look at the penalty situation then. Unfortunately no driver of the day then, because Smithy decided to have the day off then, it looks like. But there we are then. Kiki 3-second penalty, then 6 seconds for Young Lights, then 3 for Sickers Muck. Sickers Muck won't lose any places at this rate as well then. 3 for Vessia, 3 for Reflection, and none for Coop. Then of course Sirius Button's got 3 then, but it won't affect him. Far from Ginger Rage then, switching places. Ginger Rage is into the pit lane then, so bit of an odd one for Ginger Rage there. Speed Kai is also into the pit lane onto a set of hard compound tyres. Brilliant stuff indeed. And back underway then. Gora then is coming through 130R then for the penultimate time then to start off lap 53 of 53 here in the Japanese sunshine as well then. Suzuka sunshine, I should say then. Kiki has got himself past Lucas Percy, has he? Yes, he has, I think, just about. Just about. Yes, he has done. Up into P2 then, but of course that 3-second penalty needs to gain 3 seconds somewhere in this final lap then to be able to hold on to that P2 then. And back through goes Lucas Percy then with the DRS then and some ERS to play with as well then. On to the main straight then. Lucas Percy holds on to P2 then. Gordo has gone through the S's section, or going through the S's section, sorry. Cruising along now is the Aston Martin then going through the Dunlop curve. Just needs to keep it all in the pointed in the right direction now for this last lap then, and he will win the Grand Prix. Yellow flags for somebody out there, and it looks like it was Favre at the final spoon curve then. Here comes Coop, here comes Mushroom then on the attack then. Mushroom has got himself past Reflection as well then into P9 then. Favre and Vintage are switched places then. Vintage up into P11 now. I'm not quite sure why Ginger Age pit, because he was P11 at the time then, and if somebody had an accident or had any issues, then he would have been able to get himself back up into the top 10 positions then. Kiki has lost out then to Lucas Percy then, who is now what is going on here? Yeah, Kiki's lost out to Lucas Percy, sorry, but he's lost the DRS then as well, but he's got himself back in, I think, just about then through the spoon curve then. We'll come back to that then as he needs to try and hold on to the slipstream then of the kick Sauber then. But here comes Gordo then through the final couple of corners then of the Japanese Grand Prix. Round 2 of the 100% League has gone to the Aston Martin driver then. Gordo claims the victory here in Japan. A fantastic race indeed then for the Aston Martin outfit then, and what a win from Gordo then. He has held on to the lead then for a long time in this race, and he has got himself the full 25 points for himself and the team as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed then for Gordo then. A great race from the Aston Martin driver as well then. Lucas Percy claims P2 then. A great result indeed then for Lucas Percy then, kicking off his season in better style now after a P7 finish in Australia last week then. He's got himself on the podium here in Japan then for second round. Great result then for Lucas Percy in the kick Sauber then. Kiki completes the podium after a fantastic recovery in this race then. Just shows you shouldn't give up then in the Grand Prix racing, especially in 100% racing then, because you can get good results then regardless of what happens in the beginning of the race then, and Kiki is showing that as well. He gets himself on the podium here at P3 then for the Racing Bulls driver as well then. Young Lights P4 then, good result from him as well then. Sick as Muck P5, Equaz P6, Vessia P7, Coop in P8 then. Serious Mushroom rounds off, Serious Mushroom P10 then. Reflection rounds off the top 10. Vintage crosses the line P11 then. Ginger Rage is on the attack then as well. Here comes Ginger Rage then. Let's see if he can get to the line. Can he get the fastest lap of the race as well? No, not quite then. He's 1.1 seconds faster than his previous fastest lap though. P12 for him then. Farf is cruising around then. I think he's run out of fuel then, has Farf then. So he will finish P13. Legend P14. Speed Kai P15. Hungry Styles completes the finishing order in P16. Kamara Racer crashed out of the race, and so did Moomin Ninja then, causing a safety car, and unfortunately Donald he got disqualified for going the wrong way. So that is that then. GG's for Gordo as well then. It was very good stuff indeed then from Gordo as well. 10-second penalty for Farf then for speeding or for cutting the corners or something like that. Into the pits come Hungry Styles then. Brilliant stuff indeed. But fantastic race indeed then. That is that then for round 2 of the 100% League. We will be in China next week then, next Wednesday then, for the 3rd round of the season then, so stay tuned for that then. In Shanghai then for round 3 of the 100% League in a week's time then. Of course, on Sunday night we've got gold, Monday night we've got silver, and Tuesday night we've got bronze as well then, all here in Suzuka as well then for their respective races as well here in Japan. And then of course in a week's time, like I said, China then for the 100% League round 3 in just over, or just under 7 days time. So that is that then. There is the podium sitters then for this race then, round 2 here in Japan then. There is Gordo on the top step then, the kick Sauber then of Lucas Percy P2, and the Racing Bulls of Kiki in P3 then. Great race indeed then. Brilliant stuff from all drivers who finished the race then and got to that checkered flag. There is the classification as well then for the Japanese Grand Prix. We've run through it already then, but there is a quick look again then of the top 10 as it stands, of course, provisionally. And we will have a look at that, of course, after the race as well then. Fastest lap goes to Speed Kai. He did finish the race in the end, which was very lucky indeed, it looked like. But he did get himself the fastest lap point at the end of that race as well then. brilliant stuff indeed then. Well done indeed then to the 16 drivers who managed to finish the Grand Prix. But indeed, great stuff then from the top 3 as well, then claiming the crowns here in Suzuka as well then. Fantastic stuff indeed then. We will round it off here. We will round it off here, I think. Bear me 1 second. Let me get the stream stuff up. We will round it off here then for the Japanese Grand Prix, the round 2 of 100% League as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed then from all the drivers then who have got to the checkered flag. We will see you in a week's time then for some more 100% action, but of course stay tuned to ALR for plenty more action coming up then on the Sunday for gold, Monday for silver, and Tuesday for bronze. And we will see you soon.